Okay, boys and/or girls, take a seat, pull the bar firmly across your chest, and keep your hands and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because we are getting on the roller coaster of the divine creation of the gender binary. Vayivra Elokim et ha'adam b'tzalmo b'tzelem Elokim. Bara oto zachar u'nekeva bara otam. And God created the person in her image, in the image of God. Z created the person, male and female. Z created them. I think for this one, the pshat is juicier and more challenging, so I'm going to save that one for last and start with the drash, with your permission. Both the drash and the pshat that have come to me start from a reading of the verse as saying that God created Adam Harishon, the first person, Adam Harishon, both male and female. Not that God created like two humans and one of them was male and one of them was female, but that God creates humankind, each one of us, both Zachar, male, and Nekeva, female. And those two words are very, very interesting. If Ibn Ezra had been a queer trans person, he might have interpreted the verse like this. Zachar, male, is related to the group of words that is about memory. Nekeva, female, is related to the group of words that is about empty space and openness and holes. That the verse isn't actually saying anything at all about gender. It's teaching us a different fundamental capacity that human beings have, which is, on the one hand, Zachar, to remember the past, to connect to historical events that happened before our time, to hold the merit of our ancestors, to remember that we were slaves in Egypt, and to constantly renew the historical moment of the revelation of Torah to us at Sinai. And on the other hand, we are Nekeva, we are open, we hold empty space for the possibilities of the future, and we can look ahead, we can dream, we can commit to projects that will be generations and generations in the making, whose fruits we will never see, but that are essential for the continuation of eternal life. And this is what allows us to wait for and expect Moshiach, and to dream into being Olam Haba, the world that is coming. So, what the verse says in this drash is, God created us as rememberers and holders of the past, and as dreamers and creators of the future. And that is a role that is unique to human beings. Now, let's get into the pshat. I'm going to give away the punchline right at the beginning. It is that God did create a gender binary. Now, stick with me for a second and let me explain what I mean by that. Remember what the Rambam teaches us, which is that the Ma'aseh Bereshit, the works of creation as it's given to us in the Torah, is 100% compatible with what science teaches us about the nature of the universe. So, if science and my own experience of the world teach me that sex and gender in humans, not to mention sex and gender in all the other creations, is not what Judith Butler Rabbeinu calls a disjunctive binary. It's not either you're a man or you're a woman. You can think of a disjunctive binary like a light switch. Either it's on and you have light, or it's off and you don't have light. You don't have any choices in between. So if I know from science and my own experience that gender is not a disjunctive binary, then what do I mean when I say that God created a gender binary? Well, let's start with the thread that inspired this interpretation, which was written by queer Christian activist Michaela Nicole. I think the way they interpret The Torah is giving us an approach that will be essential for our generation to pass on the Torah to the future. So let's learn as much as we can. I'm non-binary. How does this reconcile with the verse male and female? He created them, you may ask. Apologies for the pronouns, I'm just quoting here. The variety in God's creation emphasizes God's creativity as an artist. Genesis, Bereshit, gives us several examples of this. Thread. God made day and night. This sounds like a binary, similar to male and female, right? But that isn't quite all we experience in 24 hours. Sunrises and sunsets do not fit into the binary of day or night, yet God paints the skies with these two. On the second day, God separated the sky from water. Seems like another binary. Yet the clouds hold water for us in the sky, the condensation and rain cycle refreshing our earth constantly. The sky, separate from water, contains and releases water. God also said, "Let the waters under the sky be gathered together into one place and let the dry land appear." That isn't the full story either. Consider marshes, swamps, bogs, and fens. Not fully land, not fully waters. There is such glorious variety in God's creation. We see another binary in the celestial bodies God made. The greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. And then, almost as a footnote, and the stars. There is more than just sun and moon in outer space. Planets, asteroids, black holes, supernovae. And finally, male and female, he created them. First off, intersex people exist. But, and perhaps more importantly, friends, look around. Listen, do you have friends or family that say they don't fall under male or female? If so, honor that. Does all this variety invalidate God as creator? Of course not. Chalila. I believe that this instead is an example of how authors weave words to tell a story. We see the author in Genesis give examples of the extremes that God creates. It doesn't exclude the possibility of more. So we worship the God of more, the God of the marsh, the penguin, the God of the sunrise, the cloud, the supernovae, the God of the non-binary. You are loved. What Michaela Nicole is teaching us is that all the binaries that are described in Maaseh Bereshit, in the works of creation, are actually spectra. In the same way that we say that gender is a spectrum with masculine on one end and feminine on the other end, and all the shades in between are possible, it's the same with light and darkness. You can have 100% light and 0% darkness, and 75% light, 25% darkness, and all the spaces in between. You can imagine this like a light that's on a dimmer. As with the disjunctive binary, 100% on or 100% off. But those aren't your only options. You can have it be a 25% or 75% or whatever percent you like. And that is the kind of binary that's a spectrum. But I want to take us one step further. It is that God created two kinds of binaries in the creation of the universe. The disjunctive binary doesn't seem to exist in the world at all, but the two that do exist are the spectral binaries, which are identified to us in the Torah by the word vayavdel, that God separated. It says, God separated between the light and the darkness. God separated between the waters above and the waters below. God drew a line between the sea and the dry land. And God separated between the night and the day. Those are the binaries that are spectral, where you have light on one end and darkness on the other end, or wet on one end and dry on the other end, and the closer you move to wet, the farther away you move from dry. The more light you have, the less darkness you have. The higher up you are, the less low down you are. But there's a second kind of binary. And those are the ones where it doesn't say that God separated between them. And examples of this are good and evil, or male and female, masculine and feminine. Each one of them is its own spectrum. You can go from amoral to good, and you can go from amoral to evil. And you can go from agender to masculine and agender to feminine. And what this does is it creates a field of gender, or a field of morality. If I get more masculine, it doesn't mean that I get less feminine. I could be 75% masculine and 75% feminine, or 56% masculine and 3% feminine. Any combination is possible. You can think of it like having a room with that electric light that's on the dimmer and a gas light that you can turn up or down. And turning one up or down doesn't affect how much light the other is giving. And the two shed different qualities of light at their different levels and mix together to create all the different ways that the room can shine or be concealed. You can also think of it as like what Simone de Beauvoir said in The Second Sex, that you can't conceive of a light that is at once blue and yellow. The intuition of green is what is needed. When the two elements of these paired binaries come together, they create something entirely new that can't be understood just on the linear spectrum of one or the other. So when I say that God created a gender binary, I don't mean that God created a disjunctive gender binary, and I don't even mean that gender is a spectrum. I mean that God created gender as a field where we can mix the elements of masculine and feminine at our will, play with them, and discover new possibilities, entirely new colors, entirely new ways of being. So I like to think of myself as being at play in the field of gender, and questioning my gender brought me into the game. May you be blessed to play in the field of gender. I'll see you out there. Thanks for watching. This video is sponsored in memory of no one. If you are able to fill this empty vessel, please head to patreon.com/T4Torah. Become a monthly donor. Your support means that we can have better, deeper, more exciting conversations and reach more people. It really makes a difference. As always, if you're trans and Jewish and you would like to add your voice to this conversation, learn something with me, share your own ideas on the channel, you can always reach out to me at transfertorah@gmail.com and we will make it happen. Now listen, I know that you have thoughts and feelings about the video you just watched. Do not keep that stuff pent up inside of you. Post it in the comments. And I'll see you next time. Bye, Torah lovers.
הפכת מזוודי למחולי, פיתחת שקי ותעזרני שמחה, למען יזמך חבוא ולא ידום, אדוני אלוהי לעולמותיך, היה נא 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 נא